Hello, my friends. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to help you understand some context in the war in Ukraine. When I select my three big stories, as we're about to talk about, I do that with an eye to what's the biggest picture kind of stories that will have the greatest effect, not what's happening tactically on the ground or other things along these lines. So the three today are really important. The first is kind of important. The second is crazy important to understanding what's going on with the House and the Senate. And the third is understanding why the war must conclude by Ukraine winning. So let's talk about the first one. This was in the Kyiv Post. It looks like it's just about America, but it's really not. It's about how what's happening in America affects Ukraine. So this is a Kyiv Post article, FBI informant on trial for lying about Biden's Ukraine links. Now, why is that important? Well, let's read about this first. FBI informant Alexander Smirnov appeared at a closed-door court session in Las Vegas after being charged with perjury and fabrication of records in connections with allegations that he made against U.S. President Joe Biden. He was falsely claiming to his FBI handler that an executive of the Ukrainian energy company Burisma told him that they had paid Biden and his son Hunter $5 million each to protect us through his dad from all kinds of problems. Now, why is that a problem? Well, first things first, if you're a Republican, you're going to seize on that kind of thing and say, see, I knew he was corrupt. I'm not like, okay, so, but in fairness, if a Republican was put in that position by a false accusation, Democrats would seize on that as well. Okay, but the problem here is that this could actually cost tens of thousands of Ukrainian lives because it gives ammunition to the other side to say, see, we shouldn't be involved with those Ukrainians because they're all corrupt. And President Biden's just kind of covering his tracks. He's on the take. Whatever excuses might come from that can come from this miserable lie. Now, does this mean that Biden is not crooked in some way? No, it means that this piece of the puzzle is not. James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, said Smirnov's testimony was only one strand of the Biden investigation, which is based on a large amount of evidence, including bank records and witness statements. I'm not privy to that, so I can't comment on that. Doesn't mean that he's not a crook, but based on this, he's not. So we have to go with what we're talking about here and say, that's not it. This guy who talked about it is a crook, but at least for this part, Biden's not. But again, just the lie fuels the fire that allows the opposition to oppose Ukraine, and that has led to people literally dying. It's crazy. Okay, next, Politico. This is an article that helps you understand how the American political process works. Historically, the Senate is the more mature, more conciliatory, more moderating influence between the House and the Senate in the U.S. Congress. The Senate is kind of the big brother, the more mature one. The House is more, in Madison's words, attached to the people. The representatives are closer to the people. And that is a good thing, but it can also be not so good of a thing. The Founding Fathers didn't trust the people to have a strict democracy because the people can wig out at times. That's why you have representative government to begin with, because the people can become a mob, and that's happened historically over time in various places. So the House is one step removed with representatives. The Senate is like two steps removed because only a third of the senators are actually up for election this year. They can be less sensitive to the will of the people as whatever they're agitated about and be more mature and reflective. And that's what's happening right now, where the Senate is the moderating voice. And it's really not just Republicans versus Democrats. There's the Senate versus the House at this point because Schumer and McConnell are actually working together. Okay, how McConnell and Schumer became Ukraine aid allies. Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer, when it comes to the volatile topic of Ukraine aid, they're acting like partners. Despite Trump's lobbying to kill it and the implosion of a bipartisan border bill originally designed to boost the GOP support, the $95 billion foreign aid package passed with more votes than it won during the initial floor fight. So it's actually improving. It's kind of strange to watch. McConnell and Schumer are still battling fiercely for the Senate majority next year, as well they should. That's their respective jobs. They're trying to put as many of their own party members in place in the Senate. And yet, the two longtime rivals' willingness to put their past acrimony aside amounted to a remarkable sign that while the House devolves into ever harsher partisanship, the Senate's two leaders see themselves as something of a beacon of stability in a tumultuous Washington. The Senate has always been, it was conceived by the founders as being a pillar of stability. If you're not an American, House members, there could be many representatives from a particular state. Let's say 15 U.S. House of Representatives members, but there's only going to be 2 U.S. senators. Every state will have 2 U.S. senators. So it's a stabilizing force because there's only 2 per each state. Okay, Schumer even joked as much 2 weeks ago at a formal dinner with much official Washington, riffing off his fellow Brooklynites Jay-Z that he had, quote, 99 problems, but Mitch ain't one. Now, Mitch sounds like maybe some other word that Jay-Z would have sung about, and it was kind of a humorous way of pointing out that they're getting along. Senator Michael Bennet, Democrat of Colorado, who was intimately involved in the months-long Ukraine fight, said, quote, here I think that they were speaking nearly every day, and we were going back and forth in the discussions. They had an idea about what purpose we're all trying to serve. For McConnell, days before his 82nd birthday, the GOP leader continues to take political body blows from his critics as he diverges from House Speaker Mike Johnson, those critics being Republicans. Mike Johnson, who is, unlike McConnell, typically pro-Trump. McConnell is certainly not. McConnell has benefited from the uncharacteristic patience of Schumer. It couldn't have happened without McConnell's willingness to keep his distance from Trump. It's a pretty rare thing, said Senator Jerry Moran, Republican of Kansas. We ought to see this from leaders more often. Amen. But Ukraine was different, a last stand from the party's Reagan wing as Trump's grip on the GOP tightens. Okay, let me repeat that. Ukraine is different. It's a last stand from the party's Reagan wing. People like me who recognize, whoa, Ukraine, they need to be supported. What are we doing? Let's get them the support that they need. That's very different. This sentiment, this mentality from people like me is very different than Trump's kind of wing of the Republican Party, which I'm not exactly sure how to paint other than populist and somewhat isolationist. And with a Democrat president in office, Schumer and his party prioritized the fight against Russians in a strikingly hawkish manner, which is kind of strange because for decades, Democrats have been the doves while Republicans have been the hawks. In separate interviews this week, Schumer and McConnell gave each other careful praise. McConnell said that on this particular issue, which is unusual, we are generally in agreement. Schumer barely deviated from that sentiment. Certainly we disagree on a lot of things, but we agreed on the importance of Ukraine. Okay, just a little bit more. McConnell's conservative critics have latched onto his work with Schumer, which Senator Mike Braun, Republican of Indiana, deemed as part of an unholy alliance. Well, there are these critics even within the Senate. McConnell saw it. His conference needed a strict immigration changes as cover to support Ukraine, which has grown increasingly unpopular among the Trump-aligned wing of the Republican Party. Not all of us, but the Trump-aligned wing. Most senators thought that the matter would be resolved well before Trump reclaimed his command over the congressional GOP. That proved incorrect. Most Republican establishment folks have already gone, it's likely that Trump's going to be in charge. We're going to kind of move his direction, which is unfortunate. I'm looking forward to voting for Haley myself. Schumer said in the interview he remembered even then asking McConnell what would happen if Trump publicly opposed the border plan. McConnell's reply in Schumer's memory, I'm not sure it could survive. Those words were prophetic. Trump's pushback toppled the carefully constructed border deal. Okay, so the Senate is working this through. The House is more agitating, and they're going to make a deal eventually. But right now, you can see that it's kind of more Senate versus House than it is even Republican versus Democrat, although it's Republicans. It's Republicans versus Republicans, really. or Republicans versus Republicans and Democrats. It's a very strange thing to watch, but hopefully this gives you some greater insight into what's going on between the House and the Senate. Okay, last article, and this is very important as well. Ukraine needs $486 billion to recover, rebuild after nearly 2 years of war. War that the Russians arbitrarily started. The Ukrainians weren't agitating for this fight. Now, I want you to put this in context. If the Ukrainians are pushed to arbitrarily make a deal, who will pay that bill? If Russia is beaten on the battlefield because they're supplied with the weapons that they need, or if Russia can implode because of the cost of the war or whatever, if the war breaks against Russia in a meaningful way. I don't mean an arbitrary signed deal that was a forced plan. I don't mean that. But if Russia is beaten, who pays that bill? Is it the West? Is it the United States? Or is it Russia's oil and gas and natural resources having to foot the bill? I want you to put that to people who are saying that we just need to declare peace. Okay, if you just declare peace, how much is the United States going to have to pay? Ask that of your friend who's a Trump supporter, if you have any. Ask them that question, because this is serious. You're going to be looking at $500 billion, and the United States is going to be looking like bearing a big part of that cost. And if you say, well, they're not going to, that's foolishness. They're going to be involved in this process. So ask them if it's better for Ukraine to win and let Russia have to pay the bill, or if it's better to have a negotiated peace now and have America pay it. We're talking about $60 billion in arming Ukraine as opposed to, what, $500 billion in reconstruction cost? Ask them about it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.